But I find that the consistency for finishing a piece.
She jumped out of her car to tell me, by the way.
Tell me if this is weird or not. I need some ideas for the next section of my painting. I'm looking for something similar that has a lot of patterns and how they abstracted it or brought in other colors. I like how these reflections are simplified. This is neat, but not what I'm looking for. Let's take a peek at Lois. I like the brushiness where she sees color changes. This is neat. This condensed area has a mix of different colored trees in the background, a little bit more variety than you'd expect. And also this play off green and red, so complementary colors. Even though the colors in this roof are basically gray, I want to bring out some greens and a bit of a warmer purple so that as they come together, it's gonna create a more neutral look. I just need something interesting happening here, but still not enough contrast to take away from the focal point of the painting. Just out here making tiny corrections. I really admire the artists that are amazing with color, and I have a lot to learn in that area. Currently I'm obsessed with values, so I use that for most of my problem solving. I really like how the roof is looking. Very fun, and the different colors are kind of helping it pop out more. It has a little bit too much contrast right now. I'll go in later and kind of soften that just a bit. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with that. I have to go work on another project in the garage, painting something for Yvonne. We'll go do that. Did you find a good spot?
How many of our unfinished creations get shoved into closets and under the bed? Heads filled with fear because it's not good enough to be done. That is the worry of someone who's not sure if they'll even make the next art piece. Let us value the simplicity of what we've made, and the ordinary beauties we will call done.
All done! This side, and I did the other side earlier, have their second coat now. Go inside.
From wandering thoughts to my must-have art books, let's get to work.
October 31st, and we have snow. Oh my gosh. Honestly, it feels like Christmas. I can't even see through the windows. The vibes are changing. Right, Canela? Are the vibes changing? What do you think? She doesn't like the snow. What you got? I am about to have my coffee, some bread, and do a little planning, then I will get back to the painting. I just showered, ignore the hair. Look at this cute sweatshirt I just got from a secondhand site. Human Nature. Pretty sure it's originally made well, so out of my price range, unless it's used. I also found these Levi's painter jeans. They have like the loop, little pocket here that's perfect for my phone. This snow is just weird. I finished reading a book yesterday. I think it's YouTube Formula. If you're curious, I do read like business and branding stuff occasionally. Time to make our to-do list. Yesterday I worked on the roof. I might do a little bit more on it today, taking these lighter shingles and bringing them down a touch, more like this. I want them to be at like a 7, and a lot of these are around an 8. Gotta start on some of the chalkboard letters. I'll come back and clean it up later, but that gets something in there to work with. This is wild. Is it December? I was planning on going to work with Yvonne today, and there's snow everywhere. We just came to the conclusion that that's not gonna work. It's just not looking good out there for cleaning up leaves. So I will be in here today, probably working on this a little more and doing some stuff over here. I'm trying to organize books that I want to share with you guys and talk about. Yesterday I started working on that writing on the chalkboard. I think I'll clean it up a little bit more today, and then I have some work to do on this like wall, adding detail and some color changes. Not a ton though, so I'm trying to take my time. I'm slowing down and I look at the piece a lot more than I work on it. As I see little areas I'm not satisfied with, then I come back to it. I'm taking my time. I've had a couple questions about my palette. I realized I'm not very good at explaining the details of how I'm doing stuff, but if you're curious and you use acrylics, I am working on palette paper. So this is kind of like a moist surface, and then underneath it is a sponge, and then I'll replace both the paper and sponge at various points. I use heavy body paint, but I find that the consistency is not that heavy, which I like and works well in here, versus golden, not their open ones. This gets really stiff after just a day. The soft body paint will melt inside those boxes. You can still use it, but it spreads out, makes a bit of a mess. In terms of brushes, I don't care. Cheap brush, expensive brush, doesn't matter much to me as long as I have a fresh brush, and I do prefer a lot of flat brushes, round for details. I like the Princeton Velvet Touch ones. Hopefully that was helpful in some way to you. If not, at least maybe it was interesting. A real art desk in the wild, full of every mess and thing that you could need. I'm responding to comments. Hello, sunshine. I love that the blue outside is matching the painting. I just spent a little bit of time going through this area, also the top of her head, trying to nail down the lighting in here. I was missing the bottom of his chin. It's kind of hard to see because it's light reflecting back up onto him. That little gray sliver at the bottom helps show that full length of his face. This is really the fun part, bringing in purple and different colors into the shadows and cleaning things up. Good morning. It is 5:27. Wild hair is my enemy. If I brush it, it looks poofy. I haven't had a ton of time to film or paint the last week or so. Because of that, my goal is to take you along with me for most of today, probably tomorrow, to fill up our together time. We've got our coffee and our chocolate. Now, I need to tackle this mess. Just heard some loud thunder and the sky is a little bit scary. I'm looking for an aux cord. Now the sun's coming out. I need to prioritize finishing my painting this week, and by week I mean today and tomorrow, because after that I'm busy. I also have to pick up 2 pieces that were in an exhibition, and hopefully I can find a little bit of time to talk about the books that I enjoy and use in the studio, and I have to just do the basic life stuff. I finished up on about 2 hours of painting. I had to come back through certain areas, making this a bit softer, adding in more highlights, fixing this. I started cleaning this up a bit more. It's not done yet, but we're getting there. I am so close. But beyond that, it is time for me to head out so I can go pick up my paintings. Because I got dressed and I have shoes on, these two are getting a little excited. They won't be happy when I leave. Okay, I've already warmed up the truck so we can go. Some people are just so sweet. I came out of the building with my painting and one guy helped me because the wind was just blowing it away, which was nice. He also said I had nice work. It was another one of the artists. And then as I was finishing putting both pieces into the truck, the lady pulling up behind me to go pick up her work also said, "Are you the artist that made that painting? And I'm so glad I saw you." She loved the painting and she said, "You have a long life ahead of you. Make a mark on this world." And she was so adamant in how she said it, yelling from the distance. She jumped out of her car to tell me, by the way. And I said thank you and that I will. I don't know how else to express my gratitude in moments like that. It's kind of weird, but it made me so happy. To hear it from other artists is especially valuable to me. I feel so encouraged by them. The fact that people were like, "Oh, we love your work," and that makes me very happy. It's taking up the whole back seat now. Hi, Luca. Hi, Luca. I advocate for brush care. I used to not even know how important this was. To get a different perspective, I put this on the floor to look at. It's also getting too dark to paint, so I am analyzing. I really like how this sits back in space. I almost like it better from this angle, but that's my perception being weird because I've been looking at it like this the whole time. Looking at objects that you recognize from life, it's hard to separate that from the fact that it's a painting and not reality. So as soon as I can look at it from these different angles, my brain shifts to focusing on color and textures and not in an object sort of way, which is really helpful. So I feel like garbage today. I decided to get dressed anyways, hoping that would help, but yeah. Oh, tell me if this is weird or not, but I really want this. If anybody is roughly the same age as me watching this, you probably watched Blue's Clues, and I was obsessed with this notebook because Mr. Steve would whoop it out and do his little drawings, and I still have a clear memory of when he demonstrated how to make that little 3-dimensional cube, and I was obsessed. I was like, that's magical, that looks like a real box. I kind of want a replica of the notebook. I probably could make one too, or I could just get a normal flip notebook and use it. Sometimes I just have this desire to be like a cartoon character, you know, have the little traits that, whatever, forget it. I think I'm gonna do it. I should just get one. Also, I always thought Blue was a boy, but she's a girl. I need to finish my painting today. I really don't have more time, so I need to get particular with what I want to change. Just a little bit more in the background is gonna be it. I just realized my book is here that I wanted to show you guys and that I ordered just for this. I guess I saw this package yesterday, but I didn't know it was for me. I've never seen a book vacuum sealed in paper. It's in pretty good condition. All great art is authentic. That word, authenticity, is overused and misunderstood at the moment, but this book came out 2004. It's a very honest and accurate depiction of how to be an authentic artist. Ian Roberts was also a YouTuber. I think I want to make a correction. This is feeling just too cool. Kind of need to bookend the center, so I'm putting a bit of gray in there with more of the magenta-y color to kind of separate it from the blues that are here. I want to start by doing it just at the top, and if you can't see a difference, I apologize. In person, that stuff is always way more noticeable.
Art we didn't make, the movies we love, and the music that moves us is always magic. The 6 a.m. days, missed notes, and undone laundry because the author fell into a writing hole are invisible. We see that and get stuck thinking the creative life is only mastery, breathing out novelty without effort, drenched in travel and extraordinary experiences. Or we fall prey to the idea an artist must be mad, separate from the normal world. And so it remains. Art we didn't make is anything but ordinary. Which is a terrible belief for those in desperate need of an art life. People that want to make, but have been convinced there's no value in it. There are many reasons we don't finish art, but I think the biggest is not trusting in ourselves. So in return, we have to break down the mystical side of art, read the books, and keep pedaling our bike so we don't fall down. Self-trust and wonderful creations will follow.
I need a midget chair so I can sit right here. I'm always messing stuff up. We are going to talk art books. I have been meaning to do this, but kind of slips my mind. I have with me my first category of books that I really like reading, art books. They're not visual and they're focused more on the practice of my work versus the looks, the aesthetics. So we have Art and Fear. It focuses a lot on the practical side of making art, becoming an artist through that commitment and that development of your skills. It does not say the word creativity even once because it kind of stands for the fact that that's not what makes an artist. This is a pretty basic survival guide. Highly recommend that. I also have Creative Authenticity. 16 Principles to Clarify and Deepen Your Artistic Vision. I loved it. I'm rereading it again. I find a ton of benefit out of it in terms of positioning yourself as an artist, figuring out what you want to say with your work, how you're going to do that. If you didn't go to art school, I would start with this to help develop your general process of thinking about art. It says, when teaching workshops, I encounter students, some of them very competent painters, who express their desire to be full-time, but it is really important to consider this carefully. Building a perfect studio, for example, can freeze you. I've seen it happen. The creative fire was lit in the process of building the studio, but when it was finished, the person was confronted with the real issue. What am I going to say in there? Now that there is no excuse for not producing perfect creative expression in this perfect studio. Would that suit you? Would it really make you happy? And that's a great example of how it helps you to frame your mindset around making art and how you want to approach it. I also have this book, which is not about art, but it is about something very important to art, which is discipline. There is a common idea that when you're an artist, your work just flows intuitively from you, and that's just not the case. Once you've realized what you want to make, it still takes a lot of effort to show up and make it, just like anything else. But really, all of Ryan Holiday's books are great, especially if you like Stoic philosophy. Now for the fun stuff, the art books, the visual magic. I don't have any technical, like how-to type books in my collection right now, but I do have plenty of artist books, and I would say that these are some of my favorites. We have Vermeer. Vermeer only has like 35 pieces or something, so a lot of the work in here is other Dutch paintings or things from the same time period. I tend to skip around in these books and read different sections when I need inspiration. There's some close-up shots, overall very high quality images. This one's a view of Delft. Sometimes inspiration is not directly for a painting, can be, and it is many times, but I also just use this to get my juices flowing. Looking at other artwork can spark ideas without a clear connection of how it happened. Here we have the concert. Vermeer has quite a few of these paintings that compose people within interior space. And then we have Caspar David and the subject of landscape. So this also is similar to the last one where it's about one particular artist, but it has a broader topic too. It also talks about that art period in general, Romanticism. We have Lois Dodd. This is the first artist book that I bought. I really enjoy her work. It's one of her window pieces. I don't directly make a connection between my pieces and these, but looking closely at the mark making and the colors always gives me ideas and helps me think in a different and looser way. I also tab pages of paintings that I like. Another great part of this book is the writing on the earlier part of her life, a little bit about her process. When I was just starting out, I needed a lot more information on how artists work day to day. It's very easy to look online and find all of the finished paintings from artists throughout history, and it can be hard to connect that to the reality of making and what it looks like to produce that work, not just look at it. Anytime you can find a book that also talks about how an artist is working throughout their life is very valuable. Then Estes, Richard Estes. This probably relates the most to my work, just in terms of the overall definition. I would look through this book probably to get ideas for finishing a piece and how I want to refine certain areas, because I really admire that aspect of his work, and also the use of color and reflections, whether it's more of an urban landscape or scenes from his travels. I'm always looking as close as I can to find how marks are made and what he's doing with color to help show such realistic spaces. That is all of my art books, but I pulled out my boyfriend's. He's also a painter, has his own little collection of favorites. I'll go through those really quickly in case those are more your taste. Okay, we have Ian Uglo. This is one of his favorite artists. This is an example of one piece that he did a master study of, and it includes even prep work, drawings for pieces. I do have to say though that these books are expensive, and it takes a long time to build up a collection that you really like. You don't have to go out and buy 10, 12 art books. It doesn't make sense. I would say find artists that you really enjoy, whether they complement your weaknesses or have similarities to your strengths. Pick a few and then get some really good books on them and spend time, and I mean like a year, 2 years with those artists before moving on, because there's a lot that you can learn from past painters. It doesn't just have to be painting either. You could pull from artists of different mediums. For example, this is a book on an architect. Ivan really loves architecture and it's part of his subject matter. Even something like this can be useful for visual inspiration, a new way of looking at things, compositions. He also has probably his most used one for the artist Antonio Lopez Garcia, who is just master of realism. There's painting and sculpture in here. If I'm having trouble with figuring out how to show atmosphere, I would definitely come look at some of his work. He has these magnificent, large panoramic scenes. And then the last two that I have here, Atlas of Human Anatomy for the artist. And this is primarily diagrams, muscles, skeletons, sketched out examples. You have to see things, obviously, for your references and inspiration, but there's a lot you can gain from reading and just a deeper understanding of how things work. And the very last one I have here, highly recommend this if you're trying to build a career in art. This has pretty much everything you need to know if you're not familiar with the art world, or what you have to do to be successful and in what directions you can go with art, because not everyone is going to take the same path. There's stuff about licensing, copyright, galleries, all in this book, so hopefully that was useful. Yeah, if you have any other questions, always write them in the comments. I do my best to answer, mostly because I forget what to say. That's all. What is your problem?
From a quick ice cream stop before a ferry ride, to a permanent memory in paint, I'm so happy to bring work like this to life. Discovering with each step the partnership we have with our environments, how our presence and touch transforms reality, and how a space can ignite its own flow state within ourselves.